Starfleet Escape Podcast. Prepare for launch in 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome to the Starfleet Escape Podcast on the Four-Eyed Radio Network, where we escape into the Star Trek universe. This is episode number 35 and is being recorded on February 27th, 2014. Today's topic, genetic engineering. I'm Eric.
And I'm Aaron. This episode is brought to you by America Joy Print Shop, official sponsor of the Four-Eyed Radio Network. For high-quality business cards, flyers, banners, cut vinyl, and more, visit americajoy.com.
Hello.
Hey, Eric.
How's it going, Aaron?
Not too bad. It's good
All
to...
things considered.
All things considered. We've both been through a lot this past week.
Yeah, pretty crazy, so... Let's not go into that. Let's...
Stay positive.
Let's stay positive. This is our, we're returning back to the original format of the show.
Yep.
Of the new year.
New year. I feel like it's been a while since we've really gotten to a good nerdy discussion about a topic.
Yeah, we had a few supplementals. We had our Christmas holiday guide, and then we had a couple of great interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm ready to get back into a Star Trek topic.
All right.
First, the news.
The news. We originally announced this way back, months ago, the destination Star Trek Germany. So this was in Frankfurt, Germany, and the event was held on February 21st and 23rd through the 23rd, and included autographs, photo shoots, talks, props, costumes, parties, and more.
Nice. So this is already passed?
Already passed.
So I hope they do more of these.
Yeah.
It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, conventions are always cool. This looks like a huge convention. I don't think it's as big as Vegas, the Vegas Con.
Well, it's nice to see a convention, a Star Trek convention that's different from Creation Entertainment, because they pretty much corner the market in terms of Star Trek cons here in the U.S.
I see. And
I think they can get pretty expensive, just personally, with like other conventions. That's why I don't go to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see a new kind of convention that's not associated with Creation.
Right. I agree with you.
Too bad it's all the way in Germany.
Yeah. A little bit too pricey for us to just jump on a plane and head over there. I saw some of the costumes that they had over the weekend that this was occurring. The official Star Trek Twitter was tweeting the costume winners, which was kind of interesting to see.
Nice.
There was some pretty good ones. There was one really awesome Ferengi that I saw, and there was a couple of TOS-inspired costumes
cool.
that got honorable mentions. It was good times.
Cool. So did they stream part of this event?
I didn't see it streamed. I just saw photo posts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool if more cons actually streamed some of their events. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never personally been to this type of convention. I know you've been to conventions that are similar. And have you been to a Star Trek convention, like a pure Star Trek convention?
Yes, I've been to 2 Star Trek conventions, but when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
My first one was in '99.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was in a junior.
Okay.
And I went with my dad, and it was in Chicago, and that's where I met Robert Picardo.
Right.
And I got his autograph, and he's really cool. And there was another convention. It wasn't purely Star Trek related, but I met a lot of Star Trek people there. I met Nana Visitor, Chase Masterson, and what they called the Ferengi family. So I met Aaron Eisenberg, who played
Nog.
Rom. Nog. And I also met the guy who played Rom.
Okay.
So, and they performed like a skit in character, which was really fun to see.
Oh, so like full makeup or?
No, not full
No,
makeup,
okay.
but
Okay.
as their characters.
Gotcha.
And that was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was a really good time. But I don't think it was a pure Star Trek con.
Okay.
So I haven't been to one recently that's pure Star Trek. But 2015 Vegas, I'm doing it.
I'll do my best because that's the year I'm getting married.
Oh, okay.
Actually. So
you know what? Get married in Vegas the weekend of the con.
I would be all for that. Unfortunately.
You need to make her a bigger Star Trek fan in a year. You got a year. Go.
All right. I'm on it. I just exposed her to the original, the animated series with her last supplemental.
I listened to that supplemental. I thought that was a great job.
Oh, thanks.
It's good to hear the perspective of someone just getting into Star Trek, because I think they bring up some interesting points of view and questions.
Right.
So I thought you guys did a good job.
Oh, well, thanks. I'll pass that along to her.
Nice. And everyone should check that out. And that's a really good animated series, episode 2.
Yep, Yesteryear.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
On Netflix. It's only half an hour, less than half an hour, so check it out if you have some downtime.
And it is the only episode of the animated series to be mainly considered canon.
Right. Because
so many canon episodes took from that episode.
Mm-hmm. I was actually splicing together a, you know how we post these kind of funny pictures sometimes?
Yeah.
So I was splicing together an image of the scene of Sarek and Spock sitting down together talking after the fight.
Yep.
Because it's the same scene.
It really is.
In Yesteryear as it is in Star Trek 2009.
And the same kind of confrontation with the 3 kids and young Spock. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the same thing.
Right. Clothing's a little different, which I'm glad they kind of went for.
Yeah, quite different.
Yeah. It was the 70s, man.
I don't know what was up with the kids running around in like blue swim trunks with sashes.
Yeah, exactly.
That was horrible.
Yeah. Vulcan children.
But I'm glad that the writers of the Star Trek 2009 seemed to really pull from that episode, and that was awesome.
Right.
Moving on to our next piece of news.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Continues premiered their second episode, entitled Lolani, at the Dallas Comic-Con on February 8th, 2014. Mm-hmm. I believe the episode is available now online.
It is.
On YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen it?
I have not had the time.
Oh, man.
I need to watch it, but I was at Toy Fair earlier this month, or last week. So yeah, I missed it. I'll watch it.
Yep. And you've also been busy. I don't know if our listeners are aware, but you are also on another podcast that you just started up recently.
Yes, I just started a Power Ranger podcast on the Four Eyed Radio Network called Ranger Command Power Hour. And it's me, my friends in Ranger Nation, AP and Zach, and we do, we kind of much like this type of format, but only with Power Rangers. So we kind of dive into maybe an issue with the fandom or a topic of hot concern right now, and we address it. So we have 3 episodes out right now, and next week we'll be recording our 4th.
Awesome. I've listened to 2 of them so far.
Oh, what'd you think?
I thought they were very well done.
Oh, thank you.
Even though I'm not a Power Rangers fan, I don't know if it's because I know you or it's probably, it's just well done, that's why, but you drew me in with your conversation.
And that's kind of the goal of our podcast, is to make it accessible for new and also younger fans, but also have a discussion that's enlightening for older fans of the series as well.
Gotcha.
So we try to make it as accessible as possible, so I'm glad for that feedback, so thank you.
Yep, no problem.
But, oh, yeah, go ahead.
If you get the chance, you're not recording this weekend, are you?
No, we're recording next week.
Okay. This weekend, watch this episode on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I'm totally going to. I love the first episode of Star Trek Continues.
Mm-hmm.
I know we did a review on the first episode.
Mm-hmm. Right. We should probably follow up with this episode. Yeah, definitely. I really like the quality that they're producing. So if this is anything like the first episode, I'm gonna love it. Yeah, and it has the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno. What? It has an Orion. So he plays another green guy? Yeah. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see it. Well, yeah, I'll do that this weekend. Yeah. Definitely, everyone should go out there. We'll have the link in the show notes. If you haven't seen it, you can go on our show and take a gander at the link. Yeah, but watch it after you listen to this podcast. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. So... in kind of a sadder news, Leonard Nimoy revealed that he had COPD, which is chronic obstruction pulmonary disease. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Bam. That's why we have you on the show, Eric, because I can pronounce things. You can speak English. Well, I just don't speak Boston. That's the thing. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm tripping over my accent. So, but after 30 years of quitting smoking, he's been afflicted with this disease, and it's actually the third leading cause of death in the United States after heart disease and cancer. Wow. Maybe this is the reason why last year he announced his retirement from acting. Yeah. I hope he gets better, and I've never met him in person, but and I don't think he's doing conventions anymore. But my dream is I would hope I would get to meet him before he passes. I mean, these original series actors, they're not getting any younger. Right. And I've never met an original series. Well, I've seen Walter Koenig at Wizard World and Shatner. That would be awesome. Leonard Nimoy is a fellow Bostonian, so it'd be awesome if I bumped into him on the street. He doesn't live here in Boston anymore, but that would be awesome. If I do you know if he has a family in Boston still? I'm not sure. That might be something to look into, yeah. I know I've just don't stalk him. No, not at all. I've gone past his high school. Cool. Where he used to go to high school, what was the name of that? English High in Boston, obviously. Durr. Durr. But moving on. Gates directs. Gates McFadden returns to the director's chair for the Ensemble Studio Theater, L.A., upcoming production of The Ugly One. There was a preview night on Valentine's Day, with the official opening on February 15th. So we've talked about Gates directing in the past, so it's good to see her, or not actually see her, but hear of her directing again in a play. And if you follow her Instagram or Facebook, she has that 1/8 scale crusher. Yeah. And she posts all those pictures, like, kind of behind the scenes during these productions. So that's kind of one way to look at what she's doing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And she also had a Picard one time that they interacted with. So fun times. Fun times indeed. So Eric and we're not huge fans of this upcoming company that we're going to speak of. That's kind of an understatement. But in more Star Trek featured commercials, Quinto and Yelchin are in it. That's how you say it, right? Yeah, Yelchin. Okay. Are in a new Comcast Xfinity commercial, reprising their roles as Chekhov and Spock for the X1 platform. Oh, wow. Have you seen this commercial?
I did watch it, and it was hilarious.
It is funny. It is pretty funny.
As much as I hate Comcast with a passion, this was actually really funny. There's a line that Spock says, Chekhov says, "Oh, this is like technology from the future," and Spock says, "We must have encountered a temporal anomaly," and hilarious, very funny. And I'm really glad to see that more Star Trek commercials are happening.
Right, there have been a ton, and even ones like the Twizzlers, I think.
The Twizzlers. And the Xbox One commercial had Spock in it.
Oh, really?
Zachary Quinto, yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, there's a Xbox One commercial with their whole jump campaign, and it's this girl, and she's like, "Watch Star Trek on the Xbox or whatever," and like, he beams in her living room, and it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Star Trek is doing well in the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Mies Avatars. The social networking site Mies has introduced Star Trek-themed clothing and accessories for your 3D avatar to wear. And I will admit, I have no idea what the hell Mies is.
It's like a social network where you have an avatar and you're walking around chatting with people.
Yeah, I just took a look at your link to StarTrek.com's article on this.
Mm-hmm.
Those avatars look really weird.
Yeah.
So
it's
I guess if you're into Mies, this would be cool.
Yeah, it's actually a website that I tell kids at work not to go on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so take that as what you will. But if you use the site,
oh, by all means, get some Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, get some Star Trek stuff. There are Klingon and Federation attire that you can wear, that your character can wear.
Yeah.
And something else that's pretty awesome, Scott Bakula will be back on TV.
Yes.
He'll be starring in an NCIS spin-off set in New Orleans.
I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, I'm a big
Bakula to the future.
I'm a big Bakula fan. It's
Me
weird
too.
if I don't say Scott Bakula, I can't say his name.
Just say Scott Bakula. It's Scott Bakula.
Yeah. So I'm a big Scott Bakula fan. You know, Quantum Leap. I remember when I was really little, he was in Murphy Brown.
Yep.
And what else? He's been in a ton of things. There was a show on, I think, TBS that he was in most recently.
And at Wizard World 2012, I found out that with a mustache, Scott Bakula looks incredibly like my dad.
Oh, well, see.
So that's something. But
yeah,
I've never watched NCIS. But my girlfriend has, and she really likes it. So if this is a spin-off that I can start from the beginning, and with Scott Bakula, sign me up, because this is awesome.
Yeah, I like the original NCIS. There's already a spin-off of NCIS set in, I want to say, LA or something. So this will be the second one spun off of it, and I like the original, so I'm hoping to like this.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of those of these procedural shows out there, but I don't think any of them have ever been set in New Orleans or Louisiana.
I think you're right. I don't think so either.
So just for the setting alone, this should be really good.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if he's going to adapt a Southern accent for this role.
Interesting. I would lean towards not. Because it doesn't mean that they're from that area. It just means they're from the area.
Okay. So Star Trek Online is turning 4. To celebrate, it has been announced that Tim Russ is reprising his role as Tuvok, offering his voice talents in their latest feature episode, A Step Between the Stars. You know what? It's been 4 years, and I have still not played this game.
Me either. I was so excited when it was first announced, too.
Me too. And last year it even went free. We have no excuse not to be playing this.
Yeah, free to play. We should do it. It just, I don't know. I hear good things.
I hear great things about it.
Yeah.
But I saw Tuvok's render for this new adventure or whatever they're doing.
Right.
And the models look really good. Like, it looks like Tim Russ. It looks like Tuvok.
Yeah.
So it looks really cool.
True that.
And you can catch the 4-year anniversary video through the link to the article on our show notes. So, cool.
True that. So now, one of our favorite topics, which we haven't done in such a long time.
Well, we had an overload from the holiday Christmas guide.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, but now it's back.
Now it's back, and it's Would You Buy It? So,
what do we have today?
Before we announce what it is.
Oh, right.
Eric, would you buy it?
I would buy this next year for Valentine's Day.
For yourself or for a significant other?
I think for my significant other.
I might buy it for myself.
well, it's no surprise because you're a big fan of this thing.
Right. What are we talking about? A Valentine's Day costume Tribble Fear Think Geek for $24.99.
Think Geek is the unofficial sponsor of the Starfleet Escape Podcast, since we damn near talk about them all the time.
Right. I tweet them. I need to tweet them more. Like, listen to our show. Give me money.
Exactly. So, what the hell is this?
So these adorable pink tribbles purr and vibrate in response to touch or sound, and they sport little red heart headbands, which are removable.
My God.
They also feature an off button when you need slightly less squeaking in your life.
So are you saying you can leave this on and it'll just keep going?
If it detects sound.
Oh, right. Wow. That would get incredibly annoying.
It would. See,
but I think it's cute.
Yeah. No, it actually doesn't violate canon. Well, I guess it doesn't violate Star Trek because the animated series had pink tribbles. It might violate canon, but it doesn't violate the animated series.
It just violates your wallet and your soul.
Right. So they actually have made pink tribbles in the past.
Oh.
So they might have just had pink tribbles and then just got random heart headbands and went boop.
And now you pay $25 for one.
Exactly.
In that case, I may need to rethink my purchase decision.
Maybe.
So, Aaron, before we move on to our incredibly awesome topic of genetic engineering, I was at Toy Fair New York last week, and I saw some pretty cool Star Trek stuff.
Really?
Yes. So there's a company called The Loyal Subjects, and they do licensing for certain brands like Star Trek, Halo, and a whole bunch of other, like Portal, which is a video game.
Right.
So at the show, they had Star Trek travel gear. They had a couple of Star Trek-themed backpacks, and they had original series luggage tags, which looks like the uniform color with the braid, the command braid.
Yes, okay, I've seen those.
And they had a Star Trek command seat that was plush, and it's actually a dog bed.
Ah, nice.
And they also had original series themed dog bowls, so you can get one in red, yellow, or blue.
That's so weird. We've mentioned in the past dog-related Star Trek toys that came out within the last year.
I think it's a bigger trend for dog consumer products. I've seen this a lot of licenses take advantage of this like dog owner market. So that's a neat trend. Another booth that I saw was called Icons. I think it was called Icons, and they actually have Star Trek themed desk items. They had, you would like this. They had a Klingon knife that was actually a letter opener.
Awesome. I will buy it.
They have the Spock Live Long and Prosper hand, and it's a business card holder. The cards rest in between his hands. Like
Nice.
he's holding it, and it's doing that. And they have this original series Star Trek logo, but it's cut in half, and it's bookends.
Okay.
So that was really cool.
So like the Delta Shield insignia?
No, it literally says Star Trek.
Okay.
It's
Alright.
the words
Gotcha.
in big block letters in the original series script,
Mhm.
and it's cut in half. And so
Okay.
you can put all your Star Trek books in the middle. It looked really cool.
Cool. So with
Last-
the
No,
with the letter opener,
yes.
was it to scale to prop size, or was it smaller?
No, it was about a 5 to 6 inch long mini Klingon knife.
Okay.
But it was fully, like the handle was brown and it was the right colors, and it's the knife part is the actual letter opener.
Right.
It looked really nice. I think you would really like it.
Definitely.
And finally, I was able to visit QMX, or Quantum Mechanics.
Yep.
We've talked to them before. They did or we've mentioned them before. They talked about, or no, we've talked about, like, the miniature ships they provided for Star Trek Into Darkness.
Right.
So I was able to talk with one of their reps at the show, and I also got video, which will be up soon on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TrekkieB47. And I was able to view some of their new products. They've got some tribbles, plush tribbles.
Nice.
They also have their Q-Pop figures, which we've talked about before, which has the little animated character and their whiteboard that you can write like they're saying something.
Right.
And I actually got a free sample of one of those. I got the Spock one. And they said that not a lot of people understand the concept.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to do a review of this product on my channel to help spread the word and get the word out.
Awesome.
And finally, another thing I received from them and that I will be reviewing, they're Star Trek plush ships. So they're plush, like it's like a plush Enterprise.
Okay.
So it's like the original series Enterprise, but it's like a soft plush, like a stuffed animal almost.
Yeah. Right.
And it's cool because a few of the parts on it are plastic, molded. So
Okay.
like the dish is molded, the bridge module, and the sensor dome on the bottom of the saucer are molded. And it's got nice screen printed Aztec paneling, and it looks really nice. And the other one I got was the Romulan bird of prey. And it's awesome, and it has the fully silk-screened bird of prey graphic on the bottom of the ship. It looks really nice. They're really cool. So I'm also going to be reviewing those. And those, to me, are definite would you buy it's.
Okay. Nice. I'll have to buy them.
You shall. You will buy them.
I will. It's my new mission. So, awesome. And we'll throw in a link to your YouTube channel in the notes so that people who... Because you also have some Power Ranger reviews in there.
Right.
And some other reviews that some maybe our fans would like to check out as well.
Yeah, and I'll also be doing an overall video of my experience at Toy Fair with video of the show. Not just Power Rangers, not just Star Trek. I saw a lot of great things that nerds like all of us are into. So
Nice. Awesome.
everyone should take a look out for that.
True. That. So getting into our topic, genetic information.
Burp derp.
Genetic information. Genetic engineering.
Dun
Wait.
dun dun.
So, to start off, let's go back to when we first encounter genetic engineering in Star Trek,
Okay.
on the human scale anyway. When we first meet Khan in the Prime Universe, in the episode Space Seed, which we did a supplemental on not too long ago. So what that stemmed from were the eugenic wars. So it's also referred to as the Great Wars, And they were a series of conflicts fought on Earth between 1992 and 96 in the original series timeline. The result of a scientific attempt to improve on the human race by selective breeding and genetic engineering. The wars devastated Earth, and there was an estimate of about 30 million deaths, and it nearly plunged the Earth into a new dark age.
Interesting.
So we also talked about how some novelizations kind of changed that and make it more of a Cold War.
Yes, and that helps to fit it in with more of Voyager, because Voyager traveled back to 96 LA, and there wasn't really any mention of the eugenics wars aside from the reference on Rain. What's her name? Rain.
I only remember her as Rain.
Yeah, on Rain's desk that had a model of the Botany Bay ship.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I remember that. That was one of the things that drew my eye in that episode.
Yeah.
Was that. And I like Sarah Silverman. So.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. So, one of the major supermen that were created in this time period was Khan Noonien Singh.
Khan Noonien Singh.
Or simply referred to as Khan.
Or Khan!
Right. So he's one of the augments from the late 20th century Earth during the eugenic wars. And he's considered, even after 3 centuries, by Captain Kirk and his crew as one of the most notorious Supermen of his day.
He's one of the best.
One of the best.
And they kind of joke about that in the episode, and Spock's like, "Why are you guys revering him?" Right. And they're not. They're just. He was impressive. He was very charismatic. Mm-hmm. He was able to take over a third of the planet without major. Well, I mean, obviously there was some death, but during his rule, there was no conflict.
Right.
But Khan would become one of the major enemies for James T. Kirk.
Right, and it created probably the best Star Trek movie.
Yeah. I mean, we got probably one of the best Star Trek movies from this episode, and it's the only episode to get a movie as a sequel of sorts.
Right, a direct sequel, right.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
So, for that alone, I think Khan really sparked the whole idea of the eugenics wars and what we saw and found out in later series, just because of how popular it is.
Right. And then...
So, next in the timeline, I guess, we're going from 96 to what?
To... the 2130s? Wait, no. I guess the 2130s.
Around that time.
So there was a ban on genetic engineering, which, because of what happened during the 90s, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a geneticist, Eric. Is it Eric?
It's Eric. It's just spelled weird.
Okay. Eric Sung. He stole some of the augment embryos that were left over from the wars, which were being stored for some reason at Station 12.
To me, I think maybe storing the embryos, because who knows, obviously in Star Trek, they're probably against abortion and that kind of stuff, since there's other means. It's a big universe out there. But I almost thought of it because they were kept at Cold Station 12, which is where all these other really bad diseases and stuff are kept. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a CDC in space.
Gotcha.
So storing these dangerous genetic embryos of these augments was probably the best thing to keep them at Cold Station 12.
That's a good point. So Sung believed that genetic engineering was the key to improving the humankind to prevent illness. and he raised these augments into adults. And he believed that because he was parenting them, he could prevent them from becoming threats like the augments from the 20th century.
So he was thinking that through conditioning and through parenting, that he could control their nature and prevent like another eugenics wars.
Which turns out to not be the case. They end up revolting, and they are, I guess it's just in their nature.
Indeed. The aggressive nature of the augment DNA took over. And I think this is a great episode, or great trilogy of episodes in Enterprise 4 season, Borderland, Cold Station 12, and the Augments, because not only does it connect us with the Klingons and the whole forehead ridge issue, but it gives us a way more backstory into the eugenic wars and, you know, the results and the effects of it.
Right. And like you mentioned with the Klingons losing their ridges, it's because they believed that humans were trying to, I guess...
They thought that the embryos were a recent development. They thought that Starfleet was going to create super soldiers to battle the Klingons. So they wanted to steal and get that technology for themselves.
Right. And then that sort of backfired.
Big time.
And it mutated them. It became a virus that mutated, and they lost their ridges.
Not all of them.
Not everyone lost ridges. Just all of them, all the Klingons that we will see in the original series lose their ridges.
But they do eventually gain them back, as we saw in Deep Space Nine with Kang and Kolos and Kor.
Right, but I read somewhere that some Klingons might have gotten plastic surgery, essentially, to give themselves the ridges.
I don't think plastic surgery is
big in the Klingon Empire.
Either that, or I don't think it would be very honorable. It might be deceptive as to one's appearance.
That's a good point.
And like Worf said, it's complicated. I think they were able to find a cure because it mutated into a virus. That's what it was.
Right.
So I think they just found a cure and cured everyone. So take that.
Take that.
Take that, Klingons.
So another thing that we see, augments only refer to the genetically engineered supermen from the 20th century and the genetically altered embryos that will be grown to full term in the Enterprise episodes.
Yeah, so augments only refer to these genetic supermen on Earth.
Right.
Although the Klingons were trying to make Klingon augments.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were doing. They referred to them as that.
So then we'll jump past Khan, because we've kind of already talked about him.
The events of Space Seed and all that.
Right, Space Seed and then
Wrath of
Khan. So we'll jump into the 24th century with the episode Unnatural Selection.
Okay.
Which is from the second season.
See, this is one that I don't readily recall offhand.
Okay.
I believe I've seen it. Well, I know I've seen it. I've seen every episode.
You've seen it.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. It's been a long... Okay.
Wow.
So, remind me what happened in this episode.
There was a research station named Darwin. The Darwin Station.
Darwin.
It's my Boston accent. So they were developing human children with unique qualities, such as an aggressive immune system that was capable of attacking organisms before they entered the body.
Say what?
Right. So these antibodies ended up attacking humans because they attacked organisms outside of their body.
Okay, yeah, that's weird.
Right. So they started to attack human beings and caused aggressive aging.
Wow.
So if you're in the episode, Dr. Pulaski is affected.
I do remember this. And she turns all old and stuff.
Right, all old.
Exactly. I think we talked about this. You had a quantum state into flux where how could the transporter be able to fix her old aging?
Right.
I remember you talking about that.
Yep, that's right. Wait till you hear this week's quantum state.
I can't wait.
Because of these genetically altered beings, or people...
All children, they're still humans.
Yeah. The USS Lantry, all the crew were killed.
After exposure to the kids?
After exposure, yep.
Oh, wow.
So, like you just mentioned, the Enterprise D was able to use the transporter to save the Dr. Pulaski and the members of, or the crew or scientific personnel of the Darwin Station.
Okay. But
the children would have to remain in quarantine indefinitely for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
So,
it's interesting that we never got a follow-up to this episode.
Right. The children were also telekinetic. So they, had telepathy. They were able to pick things up with their minds, move them around, and they had accelerated growth and maturity.
So is that why their antibodies affected people to the extreme of that and had the rapid aging?
I suppose so.
That's interesting.
I don't know if they really went into specifics about how it happened. It's been a while since I watched this episode, to be quite honest. It's not one of my favorite episodes. But I guess it just attacked the cells, and the cells weren't able to regenerate anymore, like normally. And I guess that would cause the aging.
Very interesting.
Right. And you're right, we should have gotten some kind of follow-up to this episode. That never happened. Which, again, is something that happened a lot in, I guess, every series, where they introduce something, like, oh, wow, that's interesting, and then, 7 years go by, and 20 more interesting things happen that they never go back to again. Right.
And before getting on to this, when we were doing research for this episode, I wanted to know when it was actually said that the Federation banned genetic engineering. And it was always implied that it was, and they said that it was, but it was never really said when. And it wasn't until a line from the Augments art in Enterprise, or no, not the Klingon arc, the episode Affliction, they said it established the date of technology, of the genetic engineering technology being banned on Earth decades before 2154.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense that maybe after, because in Encounter at Farpoint, when it's kind of after the Third World War, and there's still those criminal trials, or those unlawful trials. Right. And I think they mentioned genetic engineering there. Like, there's genetic mutations and kind of weird results after the Third World War.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense that before Enterprise, once the United Earth became active, that they would ban that kind of thing from happening ever again.
Right.
That's just a little side note.
Very good. I guess we'll keep you around.
Thank you. Oh, burn!
So next is probably my favorite genetically engineered doctor.
Mine too.
Dr. Julian Bashir.
All right.
And it's...
So what's his story?
So at the at the age of 6, Bashir was small and not very bright, and he was a bit awkward for his age. And in the first grade, he was struggling to read while his other classmates were learning how to use computers. So his parents end up taking him and having him genetically altered. And they didn't tell him this until years later, that they genetically engineered him, pretty much. Not at Earth or anywhere near Earth. At
Geon Prime.
At Geon Prime. So at first he was excited, Bashir, Julian, was excited to see these aliens, and then they began these treatments of accelerated critical neural pathway formation, which was a method of genetically engineering that involved resequencing of his DNA. And this happened over the course of 2 months. And his genetic structure was manipulated, and thus a new Julian Bashir was born. So these enhancements were to increase his mental abilities. His IQ jumped 5 points a day for over 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Further treatments led to improved hand-eye coordination, reflexes, vision, stamina, height, weight, and in the end, everything was altered but his name. After learning that he was being genetically altered, he decided never to be called by his original name, Jules, ever again, and he changed his name himself to Julian.
Wow.
Then when they came back to Earth, he was enrolled in a new school, and his parents falsified school records.
This is one of my favorite episodes of Deep Space Nine, which is Dr. Bashir, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I like it so much is because we dive so deep into Julian's character, where before that, he was just kind of like this wisecracking, smooth-talking doctor who kind of had an attitude.
Right.
He seemed like he was above everyone else in some respects.
Right.
And over the course of the series, I really liked what they did with his friendship with Miles O'Brien. But this episode was such a turning point for his character, and we saw such a different side of him. And we found out about his parents and his heritage and all of this stuff. And it really shed a new light on this character. And I think after this episode, Bashir became absolutely one of my favorites in Deep Space Nine.
I agree with you. His character had so much depth after this came out.
Right.
Before it was so bland. He was kind of vanilla, if that makes sense. And I didn't like his character at the beginning. But now that we learn about his genetically engineered, it makes sense that he was so pompous at the beginning. Because, he's smarter than everyone else. There's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason why he's like that.
And it after he started developing these friendships and after finding out that he was genetically engineered and altered, it kind of humbled him a bit. And I think it softened his character, and again, he became one of the best characters, I think, in the show.
Right.
And it was all because of that episode.
Right.
Which kind of leads into more about genetic engineering with Deep Space Nine because of the effects of this episode. And that was the episode Statistical Probabilities. And in that episode, a Lieutenant Karen Lowes, a Star Trek psychiatrist, brings 4 genetically engineered humans to Deep Space Nine, and they're kind of messed up. They didn't have it as lucky as Bashir. And she was bringing these 4 genetically engineered people to Bashir, but they had a lot of social disabilities. One had mania, another had bipolar disorder, catatonia. So there was a lot wrong with them, even though they were still extremely smart and gifted. There was still a lot that was wrong with them. It was almost like a think tank for the Dominion War.
Mm-hmm.
And they were brought in to kind of solve some problems.
Right. It was interesting how even Bashir got caught up in their
their
methods.
Conspiracy theories and their methods, and and they kind of made fun of him because they called him like, oh, Mr. Productive Member of Society, and they kind of towards the end they actually accepted Bashir as one of their own.
Mm-hmm. It was a good episode, and I don't think I have it mentioned here, but there's at least one more episode with these group of characters.
Yeah, they brought him back again, and I was really happy to see that happen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so we know why genetic engineering has been banned by the Federation, because of its history. So what we did is we reached out to the community in our next section of the show, the Subspace Channels, where we asked, do you support the Federation's ban on genetic engineering? Why or why not? So, first, from Facebook, we have Robert D., who says, how could you not? Other than Dr. Julian Bashir, I cannot name one quote-unquote augment who has been a productive member of society. It would seem that medical science has come a long way in dealing with many genetic issues without the need of genetic engineering. Even Geordie LaForge had a chance of getting real eyes, granted that it was a 50-50 proposition. But he still had the chance. Genetic engineering is just too risky a thing to do. Maybe in the future it can be done with more safety and certainty than today, but that is a long way off.
I think Robert has some good points.
Mm-hmm.
He addresses a lot of the things that, genetic engineering can certainly make things easier for members of the Federation, including Geordie LaForge. But it's a testament that Star Trek, in their universe, they can find a technological solution to a problem as opposed to a genetic one.
Right. And even Geordie LaForge, he had several surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
He had the visor, and then they end up going and giving him implants.
Ocular implants, yeah.
So both, like you said, technological solutions. I remember reading the Federation does allow some embryonic, maybe not embryonic, but prenatal engineering, I suppose, to fix certain kind of disorders that may present themselves before birth.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them doing that maybe for,
some kind of deformity.
Deformities or debilitating diseases that they already have a cure for.
Mm-hmm.
So why not correct that?
Right.
But I think mainly their ban is an ethical one because it's banning, going above our capabilities physically.
Right.
So the mental, the physical, developing a human with 10 times the strength. Mm-hmm. No, that should be done through natural evolution as opposed to a genetic one.
Right.
And that's even brought up in Star Trek Into Darkness. These issues are brought up once again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's also some arguments on both sides. Mm-hmm. And even Khan in Space Seed said he noticed the lack of evolution in the human species. And he's like, yes, technological improvements, but where's us as a people?
Right.
Kind of a thing. But moving on.
To Google Plus, we have Keith F., who says yes, but only because of past history. Earth was nearly taken over by genetically engineered tyrants in the past,
In the past, don't you know?
Good point, Keith. Next, we have Mark H., who says, I vote yes on the ban, sadly. Not because of the science, because of the human desire to be more, too fast, and too soon. Not just the issue of Khan, the Klingons as well. Children also need to be loved and accepted for who they are, not the way you feel they should be. Genetic engineering is something that needs to be left alone.
Wow, those are some really good points, Mark.
Next, we have Todd W., who says, support the ban. Federation stands for acceptance and knowledge through living. Genetic leaps overtake that gain. Oh, sorry. Genetic leaps overtakes that to no gain. Also, Federation is vast in space and culture. People can travel and advance through learning and at times otherworldly drugs. It's natural instead of fabricated.
I guess that's a thing.
I guess.
Oh, what's this? We have another question.
We do.
That we asked.
Yes. So, do you think genetic engineering would create Khans or Bashirs, or something in between? So we have Eric Dewey from the Four-Eyed Radio Network, who says, I think a little of both. You'd hope for more Bashir types than Khans, but it would be hard to control.
And that's interesting question because Bashir was genetically modified after he was born.
Right.
It seems like Khan and the Augments were created prenatally.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the womb or with these embryos. So maybe that's the difference because Bashir was loved and cared for as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And these advancements were kept secret from him. Maybe that's what he just thought that he had this gift and went with it, as opposed to learning about his power early and maybe becoming power hungry,
right?
Or like Khan. And it could also be the difference in the techniques and how they did that. 1996 genetics versus 24th century genetics.
Right. Good points. And also, it's probably more likely than not, well, I can't say this for sure, but it's probably a combination of alien genetic engineering as well, stuff that comes from other species.
And you know what? I think technologically, the Federation in the 24th century,
mm-hmm.
I think it would be possible for them to do anything, like literally anything they wanted to with genetic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason why it's banned, because it's more of an ethical issue than a technological one.
Right.
Because they just don't want it getting too powerful, and that kind of goes back to the whole, not playing God type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because the Federation is all about these high ideals, it's more of an ethical issue and not a technological one.
Right. I agree. Next, our final response from Google+, Mark H. The possibility is always there because of two human emotions, pride and ambitious nature to want more than you already have.
I can see that. Like with Khan, they took over a third of Earth.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean that ruling and conquering nature. So, Good points.
Right.
These are some good questions.
So, that kind of sums up our Ask the Audience portion.
Subspace channels. Get it right.
Oh, man. What am I thinking? The subspace channels. Closing channels.
We're now closing channels. Boo! Actually, for my ringtone on my phone, well, my ringtone on my phone is the Power Rangers beep. But when I get like a voicemail, it's the doo-doo-doo from Star Trek, that whistle. And then when I get a text message, it's the communicator opening. So it's like the.
I gotcha. See, when I had my phone, I had, for an email, it was the TNG badge chirp.
Oh, nice.
And for a text message, it was the kind of like when you open a hailing frequency noise.
Yeah, that doo-doo.
Similar. It's.
Or.
I can't remember now. It's been so long.
I'm sorry. This is a sore subject.
But moving on.
Aside from your phone getting stolen, what puts your quantum state into flux?
So, I think any viewer of The Next Generation Season 2 episode Unnatural Selection may glaze over it. But take a closer look. Genetic engineering, even with the best of intentions, is dangerous and banned in the Federation. Or is it? How could a Federation outpost be allowed to conduct genetic engineering of humans? Simple answer. At the time the episode was produced, the idea of the ban was never mentioned. This proves to be a contradiction to episodes set during Enterprise, which specifically say there is a ban, and even in later episodes of The Next Generation. This is a contradiction which never gets an in-universe explanation, but deserves one.
I agree.
How could you not, right?
So, yeah, how the hell were these Federation scientists getting away with genetic engineering and producing these kids?
Right.
That's what the hell?
Yeah, they're breaking the law.
Breaking the law.
And no one really, I mean, when you watch the episode, like, Dr. Pulaski's like, wow, look at all this that they've accomplished. Not like, oh my god, how could you have done this? It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah. Huh. And it's not like they were like, oh, we're gonna arrest you guys, you damn scientists.
Not at all. In fact, they saved them by using the transporter.
Yeah.
Magically.
WTF.
Right. And where do they get the patterns for these people to fix them? Who knows?
From the station's transporter? I don't know.
That's a stretch. No, probably you're right.
And you know what? You know what also? Well, you know what gets my qualms saying the flux?
What's that?
They're experimenting on children.
Right.
Like, what the hell?
Right.
That's bad.
It is. But I'm not quite sure if it was stated in the episode if they genetically, like, made these from bottom up, or if they did, like, post, like, Bashir, or...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm probably going to have to watch that episode again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one of the worst episodes ever, I suppose.
You just don't like Pulaski getting all old.
Any older. You know what else is weird? Speaking of the second... Oh, man. Speaking of the second season in Dr. Pulaski, there was also that episode where this human colony were using clones to propagate themselves, and the clones were kind of, I guess the DNA sequence was wearing out so that it would be a point where they couldn't make any more clones, so they were stealing DNA samples from the crew.
Huh.
Pulaski was against that. I feel like clones at least they weren't doing, like, weird experiments. They were just cloning them.
So it was one person, right?
Yeah.
Huh. But still, that's really bordering on...
Well, no, it's not good. But I don't know what makes one better than the other.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Things to be considered.
This is a fascinating topic.
Indeed. Maybe we should talk about cloning next time as well. Cloning in one of our upcoming episodes, because I'm sure there are multiple instances where we have clones in Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah.
That's genetic engineering, folks.
Yep. Star Trek: An Endless Universe.
Hopefully we can have endless episodes.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I'll be 80 and remember the time.
Remember when Warp Drive was just science fiction?
Oh snap! I would love to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, maybe small steps like the replicator.
All right. Well, that's been a good episode.
Indeed. Thank you all for listening. And until next time, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Eric.
Live long and prosper.
Trucking time!
7 of 9, I don't know.
It's trucking time, 7 of 9. I like that.
Well, I was trying to think like pterodactyl, but I'm trying to think of something that I was like, 7 of 9. Yeah.
7 of 9, woo!
Riker's beard.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Starfleet Escape Podcast on the Four-Eyed Radio Network, where you can catch a new episode every other Monday. You can find us on the web at sfescapepod.com. Follow us on Twitter at sfescapepod. Like us on Facebook.com/sfescapepod. And add us to your circle on Google Plus by going to google.sfescapepod.com.